In 2019, an elderly woman suffering from dementia would disappear for months before being reported missing, only for strange stories and timelines to lead into years of unanswered questions. What happened to this loving woman, and why hasn't she been laid to rest?
No answers.
9 years ago today.
What happened to these 2 young children?
Remains a mystery.
Urgent story unfolding right now. Who is missing? An unsolved murder.
"72-year-old Donna Hatfield was described as a patient, strong, kind, and creative person who had a beautiful smile. She also juggled many jobs at once while raising her family. Getting married at only 17 years old, Donna and her husband Thomas Rainey had 3 children named Rochelle, Thomas Jr., and Shannon, and previously lived in Evansville, Indiana. She was the kind of person who loved her jobs, holding many over the years, such as being a sales associate to a pharmacy tech, and later working as the bakery manager of a grocery store before retiring. She liked seeing her customers and was really proud of her decorated cakes. She was patient, strong, kind, and creative. Her daughter Shannon saying, quote, "Mom could do anything. Mom could do anything she put her mind to doing. And if somebody told her she couldn't do something, she was stubborn enough that she was going to plow through it and get it done. She was determined. She was really big on her whole family. You know, like at the holidays, she would cook and bake and make pies and make candy. She loved doing that, fixing meals, big meals for our family get-togethers, you know. That would include her brother and sister and my cousins." End quote. In the early 2000s, Donna and her husband got divorced, and she would then move to nearby Boonville. In Boonville, Donna created a new life for herself, building up a solid friend group and even getting remarried. But sadly, her husband would die just 2 years later, which was extremely devastating to her. I can't even imagine a loss like that. And after this is when Donna's health began to decline, and Alzheimer's began to set in to the once lively mother. It started with forgetting small things or becoming disoriented, and as time went on, she began growing uninterested in food and eating. As the disease started to progress, her daughter Shannon began growing concerned about how much longer her mother could live on her own. Thankfully, around 2015, Donna's son Thomas Jr. moved in with her. After being there for several months, he decided he would move in with her full-time, staying to take care of her at her home at 613 North 1st Street, the home clad with a picturesque white picket fence. And as years passed, Donna continued to slowly decline in health, but the entire time, everyone believed that her doting son was taking care of her. That was until August 26th of 2019, when Donna was reported missing by her family. But the strange thing was, at that point, she hadn't been seen for months. It's believed that Donna was last seen alive around the end of May to early June of 2019. Some sources specifically stating May 25th of 2019. During a press conference, detectives would state that Donna was last seen at a residence on the 600 block of North 1st Street in Boonville, Indiana, where she lived with her son. Donna's medication, identification, and clothing was left behind at the residence. Donna's daughters were in disbelief to learn that their mother was missing. And the family immediately did what they could to try to get the word out, traveling to Boonville and posting flyers around town. Authorities began placing numerous phone calls from the surrounding areas to try to locate Donna, specifically contacting places such as hospitals and nursing homes. But all calls led to the same place, that Donna wasn't there and she had never been checked in. It would later be learned, however, that in the summer of 2019, the Southwestern Indiana Regional Council on Aging was contacted for possible assistance, stating, quote, "But ultimately services were denied by Donna's caregiver," end quote. And her caregiver was her son, Thomas Jr. Now, when it comes to Thomas Jr., he has allegedly given multiple different statements as to when his mother was last seen and what may have happened to her, according to family members, law enforcement, and witnesses. According to Donna's son-in-law, Paul Martin, Thomas Jr. phoned him around 1 a.m. on August 26th of 2019 to report that he had taken his mother to a local hospital where she had died. But no area hospitals could produce records that Donna had ever been admitted there. Other members of Donna's family have said that Thomas Jr. told them that his mother had disappeared with a suitcase full of cash, never to be seen again. And in September of 2019, Thomas Jr. told reporters that his mother was not a missing person and that she was being cared for. According to his sister Rochelle, She told a TV station in September of 2019 that her brother claimed a man picked their mother up from their home and she never returned. And it's during that same month that the family took to the media to say that they believe that their brother knew what happened to their mother. But it's not only that, there is even more information out there on Thomas Jr. that's concerning. Because in 2016, 3 years before his mother disappeared, Thomas Jr. was charged with assaulting a woman, which is said to be cited in a sworn affidavit. The woman had sworn in the affidavit that she had gone unconscious after Thomas Jr. choked her. She also claimed that Thomas Jr. had told her that he was in a white supremacist group. Yet, for one reason or another, prosecutors dropped the charges on him in 2017. Either way, he clearly is a very stand-up guy. When it comes to the search efforts, search dogs would be brought in along with sonar equipment and ground-penetrating radars. Dive teams were also brought in to scour lake beds, as authorities analyzed electronic devices in hopes of locating Donna. But answers didn't come, and over the years, numerous leads have been followed up by police. Search warrants have been executed, and even outside agencies have been brought in. The FBI was notified of Donna's case in November of 2022, following a request from Boonville Police. The FBI has provided tech assistance on vehicles, has assisted on interviews, and in the search of the home connected to Donna. Billboards would also be erected, spreading Donna's photo and a number to call in tips. Despite theories that Donna could have ran off somewhere and is living in Florida, where she is known to have connections, authorities don't seem to believe that Donna is just out there somewhere living rogue and without her medications that she desperately did need. On Friday, May 10th of 2025, the Boonville Police Department held a press conference on Donna's disappearance. The lead investigator stated that they had 3 goals for this press conference: to bring the case back to the public's attention, to give a background on Donna, and to find Donna so she could have a proper burial among her family. Interestingly, Thomas Jr. was invited to attend this press conference, but he declined to join. When reporters spoke to authorities following the presser, it was confirmed that Thomas Jr. was definitely a person of interest in his mother's disappearance.
I don't believe my mother's alive.
You guys feel very certain that your brother was the last person to be with your mom wherever that was?
Yes, I believe he knows what has happened to my mom, where she is at. I believe that. He lived with her, he took care of her. He was very protective of her. He would not have just let her wander off. He wouldn't have let her just leave with anyone.
There have been no signs of 72-year-old Donna Hatfield in nearly 3 months.
There's no evidence of banks, transactions, phone records, or reaching out to anybody.
Hatfield's family says she was living with Alzheimer's and with her son in Boonville. The chief told us the son, Thomas Rainey, has not been very cooperative. We do know police searched his home and took his cell phone.
And that she left. Somebody picked her up and she left with him, is the story that he's giving me. He told me when I asked, why couldn't he just give me the information? He said mom's wishes were to be left alone. Later on, he proceeded to tell me he doesn't know where she is. And she disappeared with her suitcase and a large sum of money.
Does that sound like your mom? Is that something that you think your mom would do?
No, and I don't think in the condition of her health at that time that she would have been, she's physically able to walk and that type of thing, but she, at that point in time, my brother, back in the last 2 times I talked to him in March and May, he said he thought it was time to put her into a nursing home. She wasn't eating very well.
Arnold, who now lives in Tennessee, says she spent more than 4 hours with Rainey yesterday.
He talked about caring about my mom and how much he loved her and didn't want to see her suffer. And he was emotional about that. He kept saying, I took care of her for 4.5 years, and it just got to the point where she was just sitting around and she wasn't doing anything.
Did he show any physical emotion?
About leaving, he said, "Are you sure you want to leave? Because I won't get to see you anymore." And he teared up on that.
Thomas Jr. is also said to still live in his mother's home, where he's placed a sign reading "Keep Out" to warn visitors to stay away. And when a Courier and Press reporter called and texted a phone number listed for Thomas Jr. seeking comment, the text message was marked as delivered, but elicited no response. Years after Donna's disappearance, city police accused Thomas Jr. of forging his missing mother's signature during a successful bid to sell his mother's Ford Fusion sedan for $5,000. The Indiana Bureau of Motor Vehicles records show that Donna was the sole owner of the vehicle. And because she was not declared deceased, only her or a legal representative could actually sell the vehicle. When investigators contacted the Indiana man who had purchased Donna's vehicle, he reportedly told them that he had purchased the car for his teenage daughter, and it was sold to him by a man who matched Thomas Jr.'s description. The affidavit reading, quote, he said the man told him he had not driven the vehicle for several months and that he was wanting to get a Corvette, end quote. And then, just as the icing on the cake, when a detective drove past Donna's home in August of 2023, they reported seeing a white Corvette in her driveway. B&V records would then show that Thomas Jr. had purchased a 1991 Corvette on June 29th of 2023 for $2,000. The detective writing, quote, when I parked across the street, Thomas Jr. seemed to notice me and shut the garage door immediately. He then walked to his front porch and continued to stare at my direction for a few minutes before disappearing from view. End quote. And on top of that, it's been said that Thomas Jr. did have a photo on his Facebook as well that featured a black and white photo of a 1990s body-style Corvette. So it is truly seeming like he sold his mother's car so he could buy himself his dream car. So because of all of that, on August 23rd of 2023, Thomas Jr. would be arrested on felony charges for fraud and forgery. But months after, he posted a $10,000 bond to secure his freedom from the Warrick County Jail. Prosecutors moved to dismiss his charges, writing in the filing that it was in the interest of justice to dismiss it. But after that, Thomas Jr. began claiming that his arrest was unlawful, claiming that it was part of a scheme that the Boonville police had derived to try to force him to confess to being involved in his mother's disappearance. In a civil suit, Thomas Jr. asserted that he was his mother's legal representative at the time he sold her car and that he had legal authority to dispense with her property. According to his attorney, when officers arrested Thomas Jr. at his mother's home, a brief search of his property turned up a notarized power of attorney agreement attesting to Thomas Jr.'s legal authority to sign on behalf of his mother, but the officers moved forward with jailing him anyways. As of August of 2025, so just a couple months prior to me filming this video, Thomas Jr. has filed a lawsuit against the city's police department, alleging, among other things, that officials upended his life by aggressively targeting him as a suspect in his mother's disappearance. He alleges that by publicly trying him in his mother's disappearance, Boonville police have subjected him to intense humiliation and ostracization from the community, claiming that a detective on scene prior to his arrest stated, quote, once Mr. Rainey is arrested, I plan on giving him the opportunity to have these felony charges disappear if he shows me where Miss Hatfield is. I assume everyone would be okay with this. Once again, I am doubtful he'll be cooperative, but I figured I would give him a chance. Moreover, this case has no bearing on anything that may come up criminally around Miss Hatfield's disappearance. End quote.
I believe that there are people out there that have information that will help us find Donna Hatfield.
For 6 years now, police have been searching for Donna Hatfield ever since she went missing from her home in Boonville. Detectives in the search had believed her son, Thomas Rainey Jr., to be a suspect in her disappearance.
I mean, he's been tried and convicted by family members who suspect him. The prosecutors really worked hard trying to get people to come forward with more information. I mean, it's been a lot of publicity.
Back in August of 2023, Rainey was arrested for signing his mother's name to the title to her car that he was selling on Craigslist. His attorney, Anthony Long, tells us he signed his mother's name because his mother granted him a power of attorney a few years back before her disappearance. In the lawsuit, it mentions the detective on scene saying they would question Rainey prior to his arrest, offering to drop the felony charges if he gave them information into his mother's whereabouts. His attorney says this case overall has nothing to do with the disappearance of his mother, rather seeking justice for wrongdoing by local authorities.
It has to do with the constitutional violations that he was subjected to by an overzealous police officer operating in the environment of a department that was not properly training and or policing the police.
And while he's hoping Rainey's compensated for the, quote, great damages that he sustained after his arrest, Long's hopeful that this will be a lesson for local law enforcement.
For the good of society, hopefully there'll be a lesson to be learned here, and the police will be less inclined to be the bull in the china shop and say, we'll lock you up until you talk. We're not, the country may be headed that way, but we're sure as hell not there yet.
And that's where we're left, with a son who was the last one to see his mother alive, who has multiple different stories, and is now lashing out when pressed on that topic. Now, do I think authorities should have been so messy with arresting him to try to get some answers? Maybe they should have done a little better work on that, a better job. because now they're stuck here with a lawsuit with a guy who's definitely not going to want to talk to them. But when you really look at all the circumstances, it definitely makes Thomas Jr. look pretty sketchy. He was the last one to see his mother. He never reported her missing, even though she hasn't been seen for months prior to the family reporting her missing. Again, if you're living with your mother, taking care of her, she has, medical issues, you'd think you would have reported her missing immediately if she just disappeared. But he didn't. And now he is living in her home. He's selling her car. He's telling multiple different strange stories that she just decided to run away without medication or any of her belongings. It's making him look very bad. Now, obviously, we don't know what happened here. We don't have any evidence. We don't have Donna's body. But this case does remind me of some other cases that I've seen before, whether it was an accident, whatever happened to Donna, or if it was criminal in nature, what happened to her. Something clearly did happen. Now, could she have just accidentally died and then, Thomas Jr. decided to cover it up, to live off of her income, to live in her house, to sell her belongings because he didn't want to move out? Maybe that is what happened here. Maybe he actually didn't kill her, but he's just, using the opportunity for himself. Or could something more sinister be at play here? And now this is the aftermath. Either way, Donna needs to be found, and her family needs answers. So if you have any information as to what happened to Donna, please speak up. Please contact the local police. I'll have the information in the description below. Is there any locals out there who have any more information on this case that I didn't find and we didn't chat about here today? I'll be in the comment section chatting with you all about it. And as always, I hope you all stay safe out there, lock your windows and doors, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.